Hello and welcome back to part 2, how to make this beautiful broken fan scarf. We started with a larger size hook to make our foundation chain because we want this foundation chain be more flexible. And if you were following part 1, you were working on clusters in the row number 1, and I'm actually finishing my last cluster. So as a reminder, the cluster is made of 5 different stitches, well technically 10, but we are breaking them as we're making 4 double triple crochet stitches in the same stitch, then we're making chain 5, and we're making 1 more double triple crochet stitch in the same stitch. So that's our cluster. Now this is the end of the row number 1, and what I have to do is just connect with 1 double triple crochet stitch to the edge of my foundation chain. So row number 1 is done, and that was not that difficult. As you see, we will be progressing further up. You decide if you want to work this scarf as the long way or the short way. I'm kind of showing only 5 stitches here, but normally I just work the long way. Okay, so the first thing you have to know is you will be repeating the same row. Instead of making stitches in 1 stitch, we will be making stitches in the chain space that we created. So the cluster, how we do the cluster did not change. What changed is to placement of that cluster. Let me finish the first cluster and I will make also connection to the next one, and then we can talk in detail what has been done here. So I explain in details how to make clusters. If you need that instruction, please go back to part number 1. But as of right now, I have my first 5 chain, I have my 4 double triple crochet stitches, I'm making chain 5, and I'm adding 1 more stitch to my chain space. Once my cluster is completed, I will move to my next chain space and I will do exactly the same thing. So my next chain space is this one here, and I'm making my first cluster. And let me pause for a second just to show you how this looks like. So as you see, we're making the same cluster, only we're going different direction, and we kind of forming triangle above the previous row 4 stitches. So the pattern for this is super easy because you're repeating only 1 row and you're repeating the same cluster through the row. You will start each row with chain 5 and you will end each row with making 1 double triple crochet stitch to connect to the previous row. Now because the stitch is very open, very airy, and you're able to make those stitches very easily, sometimes you can make mistake and then you will not notice that mistake until the project is completed. So when I work this row number 2, I decided I want to actually make that mistake and then show you how that mistake look like. Also, I will not correct this mistake right away because I want to show you, I want you to be able to correct it even if you find this in the end of your project. And the reason why I'm showing this, because I know every time I'm working this pattern, for some reason I will skip that one stitch, and then I will find out in the end that something is missing. So let's continue working our clusters to the end of this row. Once completed, I will show you how the row look like. And how I said, this is very simple. Take your time, count your stitches, and I'm sure you will be fine. Another thing, and please let me know if this is too fast speed for you, if you want me to slow down a little bit further my videos. I know people don't like to watch too long videos, so I'm trying to kind of compress everything, but I also want to spend time because I want to teach you, not just show you how it's done, but explain why we're doing stuff, why this is important when you're making the stitch. I want you to know all the details behind how each item is being created. So now I slow down again a little bit just to show you the details how we finish each row. In my case, it's row number 2. So I'm adding my cluster to the last chain space, and I need one more stitch, which will be double triple crochet stitch to break my fan. So I'm making that last stitch in my chain space. Once I'm done with the last cluster in each row, what you need to do is connect the current row to the previous row. And in order to do that, you will make one double triple crochet stitch, and you will connect to the top of the chain 5 from the previous row. And that's how each row will end. Also on the top, you can see now the combination of stitches for our cluster. And we do call this increase because we're making all those stitches in the same stitch or the same chain space. And this is the stitch I missed. I'm missing that one last double triple crochet stitch, and as you see, it's not that visible. And even when you work the next row, you will be able to make your stitch there. And that's why I want to kind of focus on this and show you how to fix this if that mistake will happen. So I will start my row number 3, and I will be able to make that cluster at row number 3 with no problem. So let me show you one more time how to start each row, and then I will just speed up the video again, and I will meet you in the end of this row. So to start each row, you chain 5, and you start making your first cluster in the first chain space. And once again, we're making double triple crochet or double treble crochet. Is this stitch has 2 different names. Once we have 4, we will chain 5 to separate the 5th stitch from the other 4, but we are placing this 5th double triple crochet stitch in the same chain space. And we always once we complete one cluster, we go and make the same cluster in the next chain space. As you can see, that's my kind of mistake here. I start making my cluster in my mistake space, and because this stitch is so open and airy, you just will not even notice that you're missing that one stitch from the previous row. Also, the yarn that you're using for your scarf has a lot to do how the scarf will look like. I'm using right now acrylic, and as you see, acrylic is very bouncy and stretchy. I will recommend for this type of scarf, for this stitch pattern, yarn that is less stretchy, that holds the shape better. With my two scarves that are on my left, I was using mohair and silk blend, and silk, it's very strong, does not have a lot of stretch, and keeps the shape of the scarf very pretty. But test your yarn, which one will work the best for you. Also, I'm using only 5mm hook right now, so I do not want to go any larger with this hook size, because then my stitches will look even more like bigger, and I want this to be scarf, so you want to have some warmth around your neck. This is very, very airy and lacy pattern, but the smallest the hook, the better connections with the stitches, and in my opinion the stitches looks better. The reason I'm saying this, because for the two scarves on the left, you can see the stitches are much smaller, but I actually used the same hook size. I was using hook number 5 to make those stitches. So the difference is only the yarn type and the yarn weight, what I was using. Okay, so we are almost at the end of row number 3. In my case, that's my last row I want to show you, because each row is exactly the same and you can repeat this pattern on your own. So we're making the last cluster in the last chain space. And once we're done with that, we will connect this current row to the previous row by making that last double triple crochet stitch and connecting to the top of your chain 5 from the previous row. One more glance before we finish. So everything looks fine in this row. I can just finish my last cluster and complete the row. If you're familiar with this stitch now, you can close this video. If you want to watch to the end how to fix this missing stitch, you can also do that. Also, you can pause this video, complete your project, and then come back to this video if you missed that stitch. So that's why I want this video to be very educational and explaining why and how it's done. Okay, so this is our missing stitch. And as you see, I'm missing the stitch that way. It's very important when you'll be fixing the stitch to work the stitch the same way, or I should say the same direction the row was worked. because you want those stitches to be aligned. You want to correct this the way that you will not see that the correction has been made. So this is my wrong side. The middle second row is the wrong side right now. So I need to flip this to the right side for the row the mistake happened. And you can see right now my stitches in the second row looks like this is the right side. So what I will do, I will take a piece of yarn and I will connect to the top of the stitch where technically the stitch is supposed to originated from. Also with the stitch, I want to remember those stitches are able to move on my chain spaces, and I do not want to change that. I want those stitches to be flexible. So the best way to do this, in my opinion, is to connect your yarn to the top of the first double triple crochet stitch from your next cluster. I am connecting yarn directly to my project without making slip knot, and I'm connecting yarn to the back bump of that first stitch, just like this. Now I will hold my yarn tail and I will just make a regular double triple crochet stitch. Right now I'm connected to the project, so it's exactly like I will be working the stitch at the time that I'm supposed to make that stitch. You find the placement, which will be the chain space below in the row number 1, and you make that stitch. So the making stitch is simple. The connection has to be done in the right place so you will not see the difference. So this is my stitch. Now I can just cut my yarn and hide the ends. You make this a little bit tighter, and let me show you how to hide the ends, and let me show you how this will look like once it's completed. So this is my one end, and I will take the originated first tail and I slip stitch through my last stitch. That will secure the stitch even further, and once I hide the end, will look exactly like any other stitch in this row, so the mistake will no longer be visible. Once you satisfy, you can cut the yarn. If you need to make correction, that's okay. You can unravel this one stitch and do it one more time. But once you're happy with the correction you made, you will take the yarn tail and you hide the way that the stitch is supposed to flow. So let me show you what I mean by that. With the needle, you take the one tail and you will connect to the stitch, but you're making sure that once the connection is done, the top of the new stitch will look like what's made previously without any mistakes. So you kind of want to look at the previous cluster, how the stitches look like, and by placing that tail in the right direction, you will assure that. Because I'm already happy with my connection, now I just have to hide the end, and this end I will hide through the cluster itself on the top of my cluster, and also I'm hiding my yarn tail not only through the stitches, but I'm changing the direction to be sure that this added stitch will be staying in place for a long time. Once I'm satisfied with my connection, I will cut the yarn as close to the project as possible. And I will do the same thing with my other yarn tail. But again, I want to look how the stitch look like, how the yarn flows. As you see, the stitch is a little bit lower. So first I need to bring this yarn a little bit up to the top of the stitch. And because I want the stitch to be connected to my chain 5, in this case, not only that I will bring this up, I will make stronger connection to the chain 5 of my previous stitch. So that will be my final result. And now I will go different direction than the other tail, and I'm going in between chain 5, but not in between the stitches, because I want these stitches to have movement like any other stitches. I want those stitches to be able to move on my chain 5 as they originally did. So there you go. This is how the added stitch look like. What do you think? Was this easy or difficult? Would you rather just fix this way if you find this mistake long away in your project, or would you rather just undo all the rows, fix the mistake, and start all over again? Please let me know if this was helpful, and please let me know if you have any questions. I always answer all the questions in the comments, and I'm hoping you learned something new today. So we did this. Continue working as many rows as you need for your project. As you see, this is completely different yarn, but I was using the same hook size, and stitches looks smaller. Also, you can use this type of yarn like chenille. It's super soft, but it's not stretchy as acrylic is. And this is what I did, and I was crocheting this with hook number 5 as well. As you can see, the size of the stitches looks different only because I'm using different yarn types. Once again, thank you for crocheting with me. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I really hope you learned something new. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and follow for more. Have a great day.